Welcome to the Empress Effect, where we are strengthened by virtue, guided by faith, and raised by grace. Get ready for wisdom, inspiration, and transformation. Now here's your host, Sheree Hallbrick.
Welcome back to the Empress Effect. This is our third episode, and today we are covering a topic that is going to hit home with every one of you. Today we are overcoming imposter syndrome. I don't know if someone has ever asked you to do something and your first thought was, me? Are you sure? Me? I know I think that every day. And today, our guest is Pastor Joy Ortega, and she is going to talk to us about how to overcome it biblically. We're not the only ones. We are just the generation that is handling it right now. But before I introduce my guest to you, I just want to go into Romans 12:2, and it says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." See, what happens is we try to emulate or imitate everyone else that we see around us, and we forget who we actually are. Well, today we're going to understand that we have been given the capabilities to be confident in the God that we serve. Amen? Amen. Let me introduce you to our guest today, Pastor Joy Ortega.
Hey,
how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself so that the listeners can get acquainted with you.
Great. Do you have 20 years? Okay, just kidding. So let's see. I'm a mom. I'm married to my husband, CJ, for the last 20 lot of years. All our kids are grown, so we don't have anybody in the house anymore, which is really weird. Our baby just moved to Wisconsin later last year, which I'm still processing and trying to get through. I do still have one son at home, a daughter that lives in Tennessee, and life just keeps us busy. I work full time. We pastor a church full time. I try to entertain my friends full time and do things that I have no business doing, like going to basketball games and other crazy things. But that's what I like to do and how we like to spend our free time. Oh, and we're like volleyball coaches, so we do that also. So we just do a lot of crazy things all day long. We have no time for home, and yeah, that's life.
It sounds wonderful.
This piece of it.
It sounds wonderful. I said earlier that I was just glad to have you on because the topic that we're tackling today, although it's something that everyone secularly or spiritually they deal with, I feel like our listeners would absolutely resonate with a way to move it through and see biblically this is nothing new under the sun. Mm-hmm. So today we are overcoming imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you have felt in the past? Is something you've dealt with?
So to clarify, I had no idea that this thing was called imposter syndrome. I was like, what? I had to look it up. I had to Google it because I was like, what the world? But I was very familiar with the syndrome because, it's a thing. And so basically, I don't know if you want to say what the thing is, but imposter syndrome is like when you fail to take credit for the accomplishments and the achievements and the ability to do things that you clearly, you are capable and able to do and have done.
Right.
And don't take the credit for that and don't own who you are and who God has created you to be. So basically, imposter syndrome is faking it out.
There it is. And honestly, that's right there. It is the fake of it.
Yeah.
Because the truth of it is if you're in the situation to do it, God thinks you have the capacity and the ability to take care of it. So we're going to dive right in then. So I had talked to you a little bit about what it is we were going to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just kind of make sure that you knew what direction we were going to go into. So, I didn't want to put you on the spot in the spur of the moment. So I wanted you to think about it so that you were, comfortable and prepared. So where we're going now is right into Are you able to understand the common signs of this phenomenon, this syndrome? What would you say are those signs?
Yeah. I would probably say like people like you. I think it's important to give people credit when credit is due. People work hard. I work hard, and I appreciate. I don't need you to appreciate me, but I appreciate being appreciated.
Right.
And so, when you see someone that's done good work, or that they've put effort into something, or they've done something that you clearly can't do on your own, and you give them kudos for that, and they take the step back and say, "Oh no, that's not me. I just happen to have the ability," or they come up with some crazy excuse instead of thank you for acknowledging and seeing me, because the things that you're seeing them for are worth being noticed. And so they're easy to spot when people take the back seat, when they should absolutely be confident, not cocky, because a cocky person, you can absolutely identify that person too.
Exactly.
But when they humbly are able to accept the appreciation and the acknowledgement of what they can and do achieve, it's when they're not doing it. And so,
sure. We brought you on specifically for the biblical history of it, just so that, my listeners knew that the person that I was talking to, she's got some background, some knowledge, right?
Sure.
So when I asked you, what was your first initial thought?
As far as imposter syndrome, I immediately thought of Moses. Like total Old Testament Moses. But he was the one person biblically that stood out, that denied his ability to do what God asked him to do.
Right.
And so if you don't know, God had him go before Pharaoh and, let my people go. And so when he did that, Moses stepped up and did a couple things that God asked him to do, and then God was like, okay, now I'm going to need you to do this thing. And Moses immediately jumped. I'm certain he was overtaken by fear, but he immediately jumped to, I don't speak well, I'm not eloquent enough, I can't, you should find somebody else. And I felt myself in that same step. You should find somebody else. But Moses is the historical figure for bailing out on being asked to do something great by God. God didn't let him, but nonetheless, he was asked and he tried to say, I'm not good enough.
Has there been a moment in your life, in your ministry, either even in motherhood, where you were tasked to do something that you said to God, I'm not the right person. Maybe it's not me.
I don't know that I've ever talked about that publicly. I can think of a particular scenario. There's a particular scenario. I was actually asked to speak at Reading High School back when I felt like just this little white girl that didn't have a voice and nothing to say.
Sure.
And I had a friend who was hosting a youth ministry. She was a public speaker and just did what are they called, assemblies at school.
Sure.
And the principal at Reading High, this is probably 15 years ago, asked her to come in and do an assembly to 9th and 10th graders, something I always would love to do but never been asked to do, so
sure.
It was all good. And she was asked to do it, and she was sick, and she asked me if I would take her place.
Wow.
And my response was, I can't do it. I know somebody else that can do it better. And I was like, what are you doing? Well, you were totally been given an opportunity to speak the things that God gives you to speak to the audience that you've always wanted to speak to, and you're bailing it and passing the buck. And I hate living a life of coulda, woulda, shouldas.
Sure.
And looking back with regret. And that is one moment in my life that I was like, I can't believe I bailed on that.
Wow. So you fully bailed.
Fully bailed.
Gave it to somebody else.
Gave it to somebody else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Total.
Well,
and to be fair, and this is what's cool about God, he was faithful to get the point across, because I was there that day. And I didn't speak. Obviously, this other person speak. And the message she shared with those kids was nothing I could have done. It's just not me. It was her. But God was able to get his mission accomplished,
right,
despite of me, which I am so grateful that God is God and I'm just me. But I really in that moment saw God be God, and then I felt bad that I missed that opportunity.
Wow.
So,
wow.
That stank.
That
hurt.
Yeah, that's a stinger right there.
Yep.
I wanna say, I feel like, have you ever been in a service and a tongues interpretation has been going? Whenever I think about the imposter syndrome for myself, I can remember there was a time that I felt so impressed to interpret what had been said already. And in my head, I was just wrestling back and forth.
Sure.
It can't possibly be me.
Sure.
I'm sure what I think is not what you're trying to say. And like 2 or 3 minutes later, somebody else picked it up, and it was exactly the words that I should have said.
Yep.
And I said to myself, you know what, God, the next opportunity, it will never pass me again.
Right.
I will never doubt the capacity that you've given me in that situation. Now, do I doubt it in others? Absolutely.
Of course.
But in that one, I could fully pinpoint where I was just like Moses. I'm not eloquent enough. I haven't been in this thing enough. If I say it, they're going to think it's out of order. Right. The pastor at the time, he would shut people down. If it was not in order of God, he would shut you down. And I want to say that was probably like one of my biggest fears.
Sure.
And you had said it earlier about Moses, that he was probably absolutely overcome by fear.
No doubt.
And honestly, I feel like that is the precursor to this imposter syndrome, don't you think?
Absolutely. And not because of that, and because I know for me, I can absolutely be overwhelmed with fear to the point of doubting what I know is true, because that's really what this all comes down to. We are more afraid of what might be true or what is true, but we might be wrong. Like fear just does really crazy things, to the point that in that circumstance, like in a church service per se, that God wants to use me, I've had to ask God, will you give me something that I know that it's you? He doesn't always do it because he doesn't have to. I either got to trust he's God or he isn't.
Right.
But I will even say, when I get up in front, when I know I'm supposed to say something, I get ready to let it rip. My heart beats so fast and so hard in my neck, I feel like I'm going to die. And I'll even acknowledge that, because people will see me grab my neck, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to die here right now. No pun. That was too soon.
Yeah, a little too soon.
Yeah, too soon. But I literally tell it, and I'm almost doing it from a place of, church, I need you to understand that if you feel something that you know is not in you, let it go. Trust God is doing something. And if you feel like it's a heartbeat in your throat, it's probably God doing something to you. I know that's what he does in me, and he does it different in everybody, but I've had to ask, because meanwhile, I'm going to sit in my seat and I'm going to like poop on myself. So I'm going to ask.
So I'm going to say, for those of you who are watching this podcast or listening to us, you can hear how comfortable Joy and I are together. I'm going to say that because Joy is one of my best friends. So we are together all the time. We lead worship together at City Reach Church here.
I do not lead worship.
In Reading here.
You do not want me to lead worship.
So
I just sing along.
She sings along. Don't do this. This imposter syndrome thing we got going on.
Seriously though, I cannot sing. I cannot sing. But I can rap. Don't get it twisted. I can rap.
We might have to take that offline and maybe have a whole nother video, because I know my producer's sitting back there ready he's ready. So
Listen, LL Cool J, it's on.
She knows all the words. So, but I was saying that to say, I'm going to even take you back to this past Sunday. So you heard us joking, saying it's too soon. Joy had some health stuff coming up, and all of the folks that are close to her are like, we're wrapping our arms around her. She's not allowed to touch anything. She's super fragile. We're wrapping her in some bubble wrap. But we were on the platform on Sunday, and I could feel you getting feel like you and you grabbed your neck. Like, I know your tells.
I know.
Like, we're close enough that I know what she's thinking when she's thinking it. And I'm watching her and I'm like, she's grabbing her. She's okay. All right. But I'm a ease back a minute because I don't want to stop what God is doing with you. But I also don't want, she's got to be in bubble wrap because I can't lose my friend. So
I figure if God's going to bring another heart attack while I'm worshiping, I mean, if there's any way to go, that's the way I want to go. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready.
We're not ready yet. But I don't, and I was hesitant because I felt him leading me into the song that I ended up singing. Yeah. But the reason it took me so long was because I was like, maybe that's not him. Maybe that's just me. Am I just trying to protect my friend? I don't want to put on a show for anyone. I want this to be a full move of God. So from myself to the keyboardist to the guitarist, we were all like, should we? Are we gonna jump?
But that's the thing. Like, what harm would have been done even if you were wrong? And I think that's the piece of even imposter syndrome. Even if I take a step of faith and I'm wrong, God is faithful to me, to you, to those that we're either missing it with his cues or we're on point, but he's faithful to correct and bring together everything that is done. So when you came in late and I was just like, that song was on point. It was so great. But it was a little weird for me because I looked at you and I'm like, why are you only doing that now? And, but it was all good.
Yeah. It worked out pretty good. It worked out pretty good for us. So we are going to refresh ourselves, grab a drink of water, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for that little break, everybody. We truly appreciate it. We were having so much fun. We didn't realize we were starting to get parched. So we are back with you. And I just want to kind of keep on going in this vein of what it is and how do we overcome it. I think we were touching on at the very last segment, we were touching on the fear that overwhelms us sometimes. But here we are. How do you counsel those who you see are going through this? And how do they overcome the fear of being vulnerable? Because that's a big part of it, is I don't want to put myself out there to get hurt or to fail or to forget something or to be wrong.
Right.
So
that's hard because as much we can have faith all day and trust God all day, but we still are human beings with real emotions and real concerns.
Right.
And we don't want to look stupid in front of people. We want to be the best version of us that we can be. And so I know for myself, and I tell other people too, but I've got to trust who God has created me to be. I'm 47 years old. It's taken me 46 3/4 years to figure out who that is, it feels like. And I'm still figuring out new stuff all the time. But I've been through some stuff. I have seen stuff. I have experienced stuff. And I know what God has done in and through me as a result of those things. I can't deny who I know he has made me to be, whether I agree with it, understand it, move freely in it, or if it's something that I'm still developing. And so my first and foremost piece of advice to myself is, who does God say you are? Right. I know who I am. I am a queen. I'm a queen of my home. I'm my husband's queen. And so when I feel like I'm not good enough in that area, I'm reminded who God has told me I am. Right. When it comes to my ministry, my job, my friend roles, my whatever role, I am fully equipped. I have been given everything that I need for life and for living and to do what I need to do. And I'm just reminded, I know what the word says about who I am. I know what God has told me specifically. And we need to be reminded of there's nothing new. There's nothing new that's going to come at me that's going to make me be somebody different. Right. I'm too old for that nonsense. And so I just got to be who I know that I am. And when I do get that inkling that something's off or I'm being fake then I need to check that and really do an inventory check of what are you doing?
Right.
Who are you trying to run from, or who are you trying to be to that you haven't already presented your real self to?
Exactly.
And so it's you have to come back to who is it that you know that you are, and go from there.
I feel like that season of folks' life happens so many times that maybe they don't recognize that that's what it is. So that you are going through the motions. Now you're hanging out with a new friend group, or I know specifically for my own life. So some of you may not know, I lost my best friend from high school several years ago, and I have been trying since she passed to kind of reinvent myself and figure out what friendships are going to look like going forward. It's been almost 8 years since she's passed, and I've had friends in between, people that call me friend that I don't know that I necessarily call them friend. And when I said earlier, one of my best friends about you, because I still count her as my best friend. I didn't know what my new best friend was going to look like. I didn't know what my role was going to be. And quite honestly, I spent a lot of years being somebody I wasn't, hanging out with people that I really didn't have any business being around because of what it is that God has for me. And it wasn't until you had said to me, I want to say like the middle of last year, is that really who you want to be? Is that who God made you to be? You are a worship leader, a Sunday school director, a mom, a businesswoman. You are all of these things. Do those people really fit in to what God has for you? And I had to stop and take a look at, what am I doing? Do I even like this person I'm becoming? And the truth of it was I didn't. And you can sit in that imposter state for long enough time that now you don't even know who you are anymore.
Well, you can't even stand yourself because you reach a point where the fake has overcome what you tolerate in anybody else. And so you have to draw a line in the sand for yourself. You either fix this or pack it up because this isn't working. So I feel like that was a turning point for me last year. Honestly, was even part of what gave me the confidence to go through with the Empress Effect, because God has been working on this particular movement in my life for years. Like, this is something that has been coming to fruition, I want to say, way back before my youngest son was born. Justin is 21 this year, so like God has been working on this. I have seen the vision of this for all of this time, but I've spent some time in an imposter state of mind that I was delaying the benefits, the blessings, the elevation, the change. I was delaying it because I didn't want to admit to who I actually was. So then when it started to open doors, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Who wants to even hear from me? Like, why? I don't think maybe, but God said, now it's time for you to look at yourself and see really where you are and where I want you to be and how to get you there. So I thank you, because without you, this would not have happened. Honestly, I don't know what I would do without you. Everybody needs a friend. Everybody needs a friend like you. They really, truly do. So I appreciate that. And honestly, that goes right into my next segment. And that is the authentic relationships that come out of when you know who you are, you can really be a friend. You had said earlier that you had to think about what your friend role was going to be. When was that turning point for you that you realized who you wanted to be no matter who you were around? I think my husband preached a sermon one time on the in-between, and many people, it's cliche now, people hear about it all over the place, but when you pass on and somebody makes a tombstone for you, you have your when you were born, when you died, and then there's the dash that represents your entire life. And a dash is a dash, but that is filled with however many days of life that we're given here on earth. And it when you really think about it, you are in control of what that dash represents.
Right.
And so I think about I heard that message a few times, and then I heard it again. And at that season of my life, when I was ready, when I was in a place ready to hear it, because you can hear the same message 4 times and you heard it differently the 4th time than the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But that last time that I heard it, I just took a look. I can remember being 30 years old, sitting in my bed in my room and be like, oh my God, I'm 30 years old and what do I have to show for it? All I am is a mom. And I didn't like that comment coming out of me. And so I changed some things. I changed the way I was a mom.
Right.
I added some things. I documented some things, and I changed up some things. And then at this point, when I really started to count the dash, what do I want to be remembered for? You know, you hear people talk about the legacy that people that meant something to them. And I really sit there and listen. Can anybody say anything noteworthy of me? Yeah, okay, great. I encouraged you to do a great thing. Is that enough?
Wow.
Am I doing enough to make a difference? Because if that's who I say I'm about, but yet if I ask 10 people in a room, what difference have I made to you? And the only thing you can say is, oh, you're joyful, you made me laugh. That's not enough.
Right.
Good. I'm glad that's what you know me for, but I haven't done enough. And it again, it's not about tooting my horn. It's like, but I've been put here on this earth for a specific reason. Am I achieving that? So I've got to check in with God. God, what do you want me to do today? What are you putting in front of me today? Not about what I'm called to, not about what position I serve in. What are you putting in front of me today that is going to make a difference for eternity? And that's what it's really about.
Right. So I
didn't really answer your question about the friend piece, but if it doesn't line up with that,
that's how it goes. Honestly, I felt like you still answered it. Okay. I really did. And I wanted to just touch on Proverbs 17:17, and it says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born at a time of adversity, right? So you can have a ton of friends, right? You can have a ton of people who think they're your friend, right? But a brother, a sister, a person that you can really depend on is a person that knows you through your adversity, right? And that's true for us. And I'm going to say that's probably true for the people that are in your circle. So do some inventory, do some self-reflection. And are you a brother to people, or are you just a friend? Now, it's good to have a friend because a friend loves at all times, but a brother, a sister, a confidant, a person that you can depend on is born for a time of adversity. And that is the type of relationship that the Empress Effect is trying to cultivate. Because what's happening in our society is women feel as though they cannot connect to one another. Men feel that they cannot connect to one another because we are in a society of people that they're full of backbiting. They're full of this fake, this imposter, this, you never know who's being real with you.
Right.
If you can overcome imposter syndrome in your own life, then every relationship you have, whether it's personal, business, spiritual, whatever it is, it can be a real relationship. The thing about Jesus was, no matter who it was he spoke to, he was exactly him to everybody. Right. The same person, the same teacher, the same. Yep. No imposter there, right? He was the one. Right. He was the one. So I'm just so glad for that. I'm so glad for that. So let's keep going. Before we end up here, I want to see if we had talked about don't be cocky. Have confidence. Confidence in your capability. Right. Be confident. Yeah. But don't be cocky. Right. So tell us how we can have a healthy self-awareness, be confident in who we are without being, that guy.
When you're a leader, you don't have to walk in the room and announce that you're a leader. Just your presence, your character, how you carry yourself speaks that on its own. Sure. And so if you just confidently maneuver your environment, just being who you are, you don't have the cockiness it takes the back seat, because that's not what you're about. Even the leader who knows that they're there to lead people to do great things, but doesn't have to say that he's there to do that, doesn't have to announce that these are the criteria that make me a leader and qualifies me to be a leader. You simply just have to do what it is that you're called to do.
Right.
And you do it confidently. And in the same opposite effect, don't be shy about it. When you know what you're there to do what you're there to do.
Sure.
Because when you take a low road or try to be too not confident, then you come off like you don't know what you're talking about. Then you might have to come in the background and try to make up for it. Mm-hmm. There's a saying, I have like sayings all over the walls in my house, like most people know if they come in. But one of the very first sayings that I got and put on my wall, and I don't know why, I didn't really know why until I was older, but it says, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Bam. That hit me, because I don't do anything on my own. I'm not anything. I'm 4'11", for goodness sake. I can't even, my feet don't even touch the ground when I sit on most sofas. Like I don't do anything on my own.
Right.
But because I'm confident in the giftings and the qualities and the abilities that God has given me, what do I got to be worried about? If I do what it is that he's put in my hand to do, and I do it with the gifts that he's given me, if you hate me, which you're going to hate me, that's God's problem, not mine.
Right.
You're not paying my bills. I don't have to answer to you at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And if you do like me, then that's great. Then we can work together and collaborate and make great things happen.
Sure.
But it's not on me. And I guess you have to reach that point in your life. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care how you feel about me. And you surely don't have to like me. But I do want to make sure that you're putting any stumbling block that you have for me out of the way, so that you can just hear my heart. Because truly, my biggest goal in life is to know that I am for you. And I have no objective. I have no other goal than for you to understand that I want to help you be the best you can be. And if you miss that, if you don't get that, then you've missed my heart, and well, you didn't have the ears to hear anyway. So I don't need to be cocky about it. I'm just confident in who God created me to be.
I love that. I absolutely love that. If you missed it, you missed my heart. And then you weren't just, it just wasn't for you. You said you didn't have the ears to receive it. Mm-hmm. So then let's move on, because usually what happens is people stay in that, oh, well, I don't know why they didn't like me, or, oh, why didn't they do, maybe you just weren't for them. Mm-hmm. You're not everybody's cup of tea. Right. Maybe they drink soda. I don't know. I mean, it's on them. Right. But if we are confident in who we are, then we can then live authentically. Right. Like, we don't have to put on airs. We don't have to pretend. I'm not for everybody. I'm fully aware. A lot of people don't know how to take me sometimes, and that's okay. But like you said, if you missed me, then you missed my heart. That's right. Because the truth is I'm here to help. I'm here to be a part of. So before we get finished, before we wrap it up, I just want to say thank you. Like, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. Not just for being here today, but just for being a part of my life. I don't know that I've actually publicly said to anybody other than you about you being my best friend. But that's how I see you. There is no me without you. I don't know how this friendship happened or why God intended, but I am so grateful that he did. And I'm so glad that you're here.
I feel like I'm definitely the salty pepper.
You are. Listen, we're gonna go there in a little bit. In a little bit. Push it good. Okay. All right. We can't. We only got a few more minutes left, and we don't want to take up too much time. But I just want to know if there was anything else that you wanted to say to our listeners before you head on out of here.
No, I don't think so. I don't have it. Have it here in my notes that I didn't use because, we're just conversating. Nope, that wasn't it. I can't remember where it was. I don't remember what it was, but I just thought about how this, speaking of the dash and this one life we have to live, I think if any of us look back on where we've come from, there's so much of our life, like I said before, I hate looking back with regret. And there's so much time I spent wasted not having this valuable information before when I was younger, because I was young and dumb and did a whole bunch of dumb stuff. But now that I know, and as I'm learning more, I want to embrace every good thing that God has for me.
Yes.
And that is my prayer for everybody that I come in contact. I would love it for everybody I come in contact with, but even more so for those that I'm in relationship with, because if we do this alone, it's no fun.
Right.
And that's not how we were supposed to do life. God didn't mean for us to live life alone. So when we go out swinging with each other, we're definitely empresses in the process.
Hey, I love that. I love that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this time. Check out all of our social media pages. You guys know it, the subscribe button, it flashes, all of those things. I just want to say thank you so much for following along and being a part of this journey with me. I think that's it. Just stay blessed. Remember, we are guided by, what is it? Strengthened by virtue, guided by faith, and raised by grace. I'm totally distracted, and it's okay because I love you guys and you love me, or you wouldn't be here. So just remember, you are here for such a time as this. Get ready to straighten your crown because we are coming for you. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on the Empress Effect. Today, you have been strengthened by virtue, guided by faith, and raised by grace. If you have enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the latest updates. You can also follow all of our social media platforms to stay connected. And for exclusive Empress Effect merchandise, visit our website at theempresseffect.org. Stay encouraged on this journey, and remember, you were born for such a time as this.